Welcome back to TKO Takes, and before we get to the 2026 NBA Draft, I figured I'd inform you guys on every major prospect you should be aware of in case your favorite team drafts them. And as someone who watched an insane amount of college basketball this season, I feel heavily qualified to speak on this. So first, let's talk about AJ Dybantsa from BYU, a forward. AJ Dybantsa is the clear favorite to be the #1 pick. Listed at around 6'9" with a reported wingspan of over 7 feet, he possesses the physical tools NBA teams dream about. What separates him from most elite athletes is how advanced his skill level already is. He's comfortable creating off the dribble, operating pick and rolls, attacking closeouts, and making difficult reads as a passer, and he's also got one of the best mid-range jumpers in the entire draft. Defensively, Dybantsa has the length and mobility to guard multiple positions and potentially become a legitimate two-way superstar. Plus, he has a pretty decent catch and shoot game. So his combination of size, shot creation, athleticism, and feel for the game gives him one of the highest ceilings we've seen from wing prospect in years. And next up we have Darryn Peterson from Kansas. Darryn Peterson is a powerful 6'5" combo guard with a strong frame and elite scoring instincts. He's one of the rare prospects who can both dominate on and off the ball, whether it's pulling up from deep, creating separation and isolation, or bullying smaller defenders on drives. Peterson has answers for almost every defensive coverage. And what scouts love the most about him is his pace. Peterson never seems sped up and consistently makes the correct read when defenses collapse on him. And if his ankle issues are fully behind him, he has legitimate all-star upside because of his blend of shot creation, strength, and NBA-ready offensive polish. Then I want to talk about Cameron Boozer from Duke. Standing at around 6'9", over 240 pounds, Cameron Boozer already has an NBA body, and he's also the son of former NBA All-Star Carlos Boozer. And his understanding of the game is incredibly advanced for his age. He's an elite rebounder, high-level passer for his position, and an efficient scorer both inside and even outside. He can also shoot the ball a little bit, guys. And what makes Boozer such a safe prospect is that there aren't many weaknesses in his game. He impacts winning without needing the ball constantly in his hands. His strength, basketball IQ, and improving jumper give him one of the highest floors in the entire draft class. Then next up we have Caleb Wilson from North Carolina. Caleb Wilson stands at roughly 6'9" with exceptional length and arguably the best athletic tools in the class. His ability to switch defensively, recover, protect the rim, and finish above the basket makes him one of the most intriguing long-term prospects available. And right now, much of his upside depends on offensive development. If his ball handling and perimeter shooting continue improving, he could become the type of versatile two-way forward every NBA team is searching for. The physical profile alone gives him enormous potential. And now let's talk about the elite guards of this draft class besides Peterson. We have Kingston Flemings from Houston. Kingston Flemings is one of the toughest guards in the draft class and plays with the kind of intensity coaches immediately fall in love with. He stands at around 6'3" to 6'4" with a strong frame and good length, and Flemings thrives when he's attacking downhill. He puts constant pressure on defenses by getting to the paint, drawing contact, and creating opportunities for himself and his teammates. And like AJ, he's got an insane mid-range game. He's basically the Chris Paul of this draft class with his mid-range game. But what really boosts his NBA projection is his two-way potential. Flemings competes on every possession, embraces difficult defensive assignments, and consistently impacts the game beyond just scoring. He rebounds well for a guard, plays with a high motor, and brings the level of physicality that translates well to the next level. With a developing three-point shot and his combination of athleticism, toughness, and defensive effort, it gives him a very high floor. Then next up, we have Keaton Wagler from Illinois. Keaton Wagler is one of the fastest rising shooters in the entire draft class. He also stands at around 6'5", 6'6" for a guard, so he has great positional size for a guard or even potential wing in the future. So he's built for the modern game because of his ability to knock down shots, both off the catch and on the move. Whether he's flying off of screens, relocating around the perimeter, or spotting up transition, Wagler constantly forces defenses to stay attached to him. And what makes him especially intriguing is that he's more than just a shooting specialist. He has shown flashes of attacking closeouts, making quick decisions with the ball, and functioning within an offense without needing high usage. And every NBA team is searching for wings and guards who can space the floor while holding their own defensively. And Wagler definitely has the tools to become a good defender, but he definitely could improve on his defense. But if he can improve on his defense, he could become one of the best two-way guards in the future in the NBA. Then let's talk about Mikel Brown Jr. from Louisville. Mikel Brown Jr. is one of the smartest guards in this draft. At around 6'5", he combines excellent size with elite decision-making and court vision. He consistently manipulates defenses in pick-and-roll situations and rarely forces bad shots. What makes Brown special isn't his overwhelming athleticism, but it's because of how smooth he is and how well he controls games. He changes pace extremely well, delivers accurate passes from every angle, and has steadily improved his perimeter shooting. So teams looking for a true floor general are definitely going to value him highly. Then we have Darius Acuff Jr. from Arkansas. Darius Acuff Jr. is one of the most entertaining scorers in the entire draft class. Staying around 6'2" with a quick first step and elite shot making ability, Acuff can score from virtually anywhere on the floor. He has deep range shooting, a creative handle, and the confidence to take and make difficult shots that most players wouldn't even attempt. So when he catches fire, he's capable of completely taking over games and looks nearly impossible to guard at times. What separates Acuff from most score-first guards is that he simply isn't just hunting shots. He's a willing passer who consistently looks to create for his teammates when defenses send extra attention his way. He also competes defensively, something that isn't common for most young offensive-minded guards. Personally, he's one of my favorite guards in this draft class because he combines elite scoring talent with unselfishness and a willingness to compete on both ends of the floor. Then we have Ament from Tennessee. Ament might have one of the highest ceilings in the draft, standing at around 6'10" with a reported wingspan approaching 7'3", and he also moves like a wing despite having the size of a modern power forward. His shooting touch, fluidity, and ball handling flashes are incredibly rare for a player his size. The biggest question is strength. Adding muscle will be crucial as he transitions to the NBA, so if he fills out physically while maintaining his mobility and shooting ability, he become one of the most difficult matchup problems in the league. And next up we have Brayden Burries from Arizona. Brayden Burries is one of the most polished and fundamentally sound guards in the entire draft class. Then next up we have Brayden Burries from Arizona, and Brayden Burries is one of the most polished and fundamentally sound guards in the entire draft class. He stands at around 6'4" with a strong frame and good positional size. Burries rarely looks rattled on the court. He plays with excellent pace and consistently makes the right read and understands how to control a game without forcing the action. While some prospects rely on athleticism or flashy highlights, Burries wins with skill, IQ, and efficiency. What NBA teams are going to love is how complete his game already looks. He can score at all three levels, create for teammates, and defend multiple perimeter positions, and contribute without needing the offense built around him. He's the type of player who raises the floor of any lineup because he simply makes winning plays. His ceiling may not be discussed as much as some of the elite shot creators in his draft class, but his combination of toughness, feel for the game, gives him one of the safest projections in the draft. Burries feels like the kind of guard who carves out a long NBA career and eventually becomes the player every contender wishes they had. And next up, we have Aday from Michigan. Aday stands at around 7'3", one of the largest standing reaches in NBA draft history. While most players his size are limited offensively, Mara has impressive passing vision and touch around the basket. He sees the floor exceptionally well and can function as a playmaking hub from the high post. And defensively, his sheer size changes the game completely. Opponents think twice before attacking the paint, and he also performed very well at the combine with his mobility drill, so he's not a slow 7'3" guy. So he has a chance to become one of the most unique centers in the NBA draft and start a new archetype in the NBA, the 1B stopper. And Jayden Quaintance, a big man from Kentucky, is arguably one of the most impactful defenders in his draft class, although he wasn't able to play much last season due to a foot injury, but he stands at around 6'10" with a massive wingspan over 7'4", so he covers an unbelievable amount of ground defensively. He blocks shots, switches on the guards, and consistently disrupts offenses with his activity. The offensive game is still developing, but the defensive tools are already NBA caliber, and in a league that increasingly values versatile defenders, Quaintance has a chance to become one of the best perimeter defensive bigs in basketball. Then we have Brayden Burries' teammate, Peat, a forward from Arizona, and he's one of the strongest forwards in the class. Standing at around 6'8" and already possessing an NBA-ready frame, he plays with tremendous physicality, attacks the glass relentlessly, and consistently makes winning plays. What stands out most is his competitiveness. Peat impacts the game even without scoring because he's a great rebounder, solid defender. However, he definitely needs to work on his shooting if he wants to carve out a long NBA career, as he was one of the worst shooters in the draft combine, if not the worst. So he definitely needs to improve on his shooting, but he's a great inside the arc scorer. Then we got Labaron Philon from Alabama, and he's one of the quickest guards in his draft class and constantly puts up pressure on defenses with his speed and explosiveness. And he stands around 6'4" with solid length for a lead guard. And Philon thrives when he's attacking downhill, and he's also extremely dangerous in transition. So he creates a lot of opportunities for himself and his teammates with his ability to get to the paint. But what makes him so intriguing is that he's also a 40% three-point shooter. So he's shown he can punish defenses for going under screens or helping too aggressively off the ball. So that combination of rim pressure and perimeter shooting is increasingly valuable in today's NBA. So if he continues developing as a playmaker and decision maker, he has a real chance to become one of the better two-way guards from this draft class. Then we have one of my favorite players in this entire draft class, and it's Yaxel Lendeborg from Michigan. Yaxel Lendeborg might be the ultimate winning player in this entire draft class. He stands at around 6'9" with a long wingspan, he has a strong frame, and impressive athleticism. And he impacts nearly every single aspect of the game. He rebounds at a high level, makes smart passes, defends multiple positions, and has continued to improve as a shooter. While some prospects stand out because of one elite skill, Lendeborg stands out because he does everything well. And what makes him especially valuable is his defensive versatility. There aren't many forwards with his size who can legitimately switch on the guards and hold their own, but Lendeborg has repeatedly shown his ability to defend point guards, wings, and bigs. That kind of flexibility is incredibly valuable in today's NBA where teams constantly hunt mismatches in the playoffs. So if you're building a championship roster, Lendeborg is exactly the type of player every contender wants. In fact, there's a strong argument that he may be the most versatile prospect in the entire draft. And the next big man I want to discuss is Hannes Steinbach. Hannes Steinbach is one of the more underrated big men in this draft class because of how polished his overall game already is. He stands at around 7 feet with a strong frame, and Steinbach excels at many of the little things NBA coaches valuable. He rebounds at a high level, sets solid screens, protects the rim, and consistently plays within the flow of the offense. He may not have the flashy athleticism of some higher ranked centers, but his fundamentals are extremely advanced for his age. What makes Steinbach especially intriguing is his offensive touch. He has soft hands around the basket, finishes efficiently, and has shown flashes of mid-range scoring ability that suggests there may be more offensive upside than people realize. And defensively, he uses his size and positioning well to alter shots and anchor the paint. And NBA teams are always searching for skilled centers who can rebound, defend, and potentially shoot in the future. And Steinbach checks all those boxes. So his ceiling may not be superstar level, but he has the tools to become a long-term starting center or one of the most reliable rotational bigs in the league. Then we got Carr from Baylor. Carr is one of the more intriguing wing prospects in the draft because of his combination of size, length, and athletic upside he brings to the table. He stands at around 6'7" with a long wingspan and fluid movement skills. Carr has a physical profile that NBA teams love. He's an explosive athlete in transition, finishes well above the rim, and has shown flashes being able to create his own shot off the dribble, which is a valuable trait for a player his size. And defensively, Carr may have his highest upside. His length, lateral quickness, and athleticism give him potential to guard multiple positions on the perimeter and disrupt passing lanes. Carr has really good shot mechanics, and he showed he can score at a high level in college, so he has a chance to become one of the best two-way wings in the draft. Then we have our first international prospect, Karim Lopez. Karim Lopez is one of the most intriguing international prospects because of his combination of size, skill, and offensive versatility. He stands at around 6'8". He can handle the ball, create offense, and score from multiple levels. What scouts love is how comfortable he looks operating on the perimeter despite having forward size. If the shooting continues to improve and he becomes more consistent defensively, Lopez could end up being one of the biggest steals in the draft. Then we have Cenac Jr. from Houston. And Cenac Jr. is why we view as one of the top center prospects because he checks so many boxes NBA teams love and are looking for in a modern big man. He stands at around 6'10" to 6'11", has a long wingspan, and he also has impressive mobility. Cenac combines size, athleticism, and defensive impact in a way that few centers in this class can. He's an excellent rim protector who uses his length and timing to alter shots, while also possessing the mobility to defend in space better than most players his size. Whether it's finishing around the basket, scoring as a roll man, or showing touch on face-up opportunities, the offensive potential is very real for him. In today's NBA, teams are constantly searching for centers who can anchor a defense without becoming liabilities when the game speeds up, and Cenac fits that mold perfectly. If his offensive game continues to develop, he has the tools to become one of the best all-around big men from this draft class and a long-term impact at the NBA level. And Isaiah Evans from Duke is a very solid wing in this draft. He stands at around 6'6", 6'7", and is one of the best pure shooters in this entire draft class. His release is quick, effortless, and effective both off the catch and off of movement. And few prospects can heat up offensively as quickly as Evans here. The upside becomes especially intriguing if he continues improving defensively and adds strength. With his size and shot-making ability, he projects as a type of wing scorer every modern NBA offense wants on the floor. And Allen Graves from Santa Clara has emerged as one of the biggest risers in the draft process thanks to his combination of size, versatility, and modern NBA skill set. He stands at around 6'8" with a solid frame and good athleticism. Graves fits the mold of the interchangeable forwards that every NBA team is searching for. He has shown the ability to knock down perimeter shots, attack closeouts, and contribute in multiple areas without needing the offense to be built around him. But the main sell of Allen Graves is his two-way potential. Defensively, Graves has the size and mobility to guard multiple positions, whether that's bigger wings on the perimeter or smaller forwards in the paint. Offensively, his shooting flashes suggest he could develop into a legitimate floor spacing threat, which dramatically increases his value. In today's NBA, players who can defend, shoot, and seamlessly switch between the 3 and 4 spots are incredibly valuable. Graves may not have the star upside of some lottery prospects, but he has all of the tools to become a high-level role player and a type of versatile two-way forward that championship teams can rely on. And next up is Bennett Stirtz, and he's the type of NBA guard teams tend to fall in love with late in the draft process because of how steady and intelligent his game is. He stands at around 6'3" with a solid frame, and he doesn't rely on elite athleticism to beat defenders. Instead, he wins with pace, decision making, and shot making. He stays under control in pick and roll situations and rarely forces bad reads and consistently puts his teammates in good positions. What really stands out is his shooting and feel. Stirtz is a confident perimeter shooter who can punish defenders who go under screens, and he's comfortable operating as both a ball handler and off-ball threat. And then we have our third Michigan player in this video, Morez Jr. And he's the type of player NBA teams love because he fully embraces the dirty work that helps teams win games. He stands at around 6'9" to 6'10". He has a powerful frame and long arms, and Johnson brings non-stop energy every time he steps on the court. He's an aggressive rebounder on both ends and attacks the glass with physicality, and consistently creates extra possessions through sheer effort and toughness. And offensively, most of his production comes around the basket, where he's an efficient finisher, a lob threat, and offensive rebounder. While he may not have the polished perimeter skill set some other frontcourt prospects, his motor, physicality, and willingness to do the little things give him a very high floor. And every NBA team needs players who are willing to defend, rebound, screen, and bring energy every night. And Johnson projects as that exact kind of player at the next level. Then we got Christian Anderson Jr. from Texas Tech, and he may not be the biggest guard in the draft, but he's one of the most skilled offensive players in the entire class. He stands around 6'2", and Anderson plays with tremendous confidence and isn't afraid of big moments. He has a deep scoring arsenal that includes pull-up jumpers, step backs, tough off-the-dribble threes, and crafty finishes around the basket. And when the ball is in his hands, he has the creativity and shot-making ability to generate offense against almost any defense. Despite lacking ideal size, he competes hard and has shown the ability to create for his teammates when defenses focus too heavily on stopping his scoring. If he can continue improving as a playmaker and defender, Anderson has the offensive talent to become one of the biggest steals in the draft. And speaking of great offensive players, we have Ebuka Okorie, and he's one of the most explosive guards in this draft class and possesses the type of first step that immediately puts defenses on their heels. Okorie thrives when attacking downhill. He gets into the paint with ease, puts constant pressure on the rim, and has the body control and finishing ability to convert through contact. So his combination of speed, burst, and aggression makes him one of the toughest guards in the draft class. But what makes Okorie especially dangerous is that defenders simply can't play off of him to take away his drives. He's a legitimate perimeter threat who can knock down shots from deep and punish defenses that give him too much space. So Okorie has all the tools to develop into a dynamic NBA scoring guard. His athleticism, scoring versatility, and offensive upside make him one of the most intriguing backcourt prospects this entire draft. And then let's talk about Dailyn Swain from Texas. And he's a type of NBA prospect NBA teams love to develop because he already brings several traits that translate directly to winning basketball. He stands at around 6'7" with a strong athletic frame. Swain excels as a versatile wing who impacts the game on both ends of the floor. He's an explosive athlete in transition, finishes well above the rim, and uses his strength and speed to create easy scoring opportunities without needing plays called specifically for him. And where Swain's upside really stands out is on the defensive end. He has the size, athleticism, and lateral quickness to defend multiple positions, giving him the potential to become a valuable, switchable defender at the next level. So if the offensive game continues to improve, there's definitely room for him to become much more than a two-way wing. And next up, we have center Tarris who's one of the toughest and most physical big men in this draft class. He stands at around 6'10" with a powerful frame and around a wingspan of 7'2". And Reed embraces the physical side of basketball and consistently impacts the game with his effort, strength, and interior presence. He's an elite rebounder who attacks the glass on both ends and routinely creates extra possessions through his high motor and toughness. Reed feels like the type of center coaches trust because he understands his role, plays hard every night, and consistently does the dirty work that helps NBA teams win. If his offensive skill set continues to expand, he could develop into a highly valuable starting caliber big at the next level. Then we have another Wemby stopper archetype, Luigi Suido, and he's one of the most physically imposing prospects in the entire draft class. Like Aday, he's around 7'3" with a massive wingspan and frame. His length allows him to impact games defensively, even when he's not blocking shots, as opponents are often forced to alter their attempts around the basket whenever he's nearby. The biggest appeal of Luigi's game is his defensive upside. He projects as a rim protector that can anchor a defense, control the paint, and provide valuable interior size against some of the league's biggest centers. He's also a strong rebounder who uses his size effectively to carve out space and secure possessions. And offensively, he's still developing and doesn't yet possess the polished skill set some of the more advanced big men in the class have, but there have been flashes of touch and feel that suggest there's room for growth. So if he continues to improve his mobility, conditioning, and offensive game, he can become a very valuable NBA center years ahead. Then we got one of my favorite centers in this draft class, Zubi Ejiofor from St. John's. And he's one of the most physically imposing forwards in this draft class and looks like he already belongs in the NBA weight room. He stands around 6'9" with a powerful frame and long arms. Ejiofor plays with relentless energy and embraces the physical side of the game. He thrives around the basket, finishes through contact, and attacks the glass. He's an excellent rebounder on both ends, sets hard screens, runs the floor well, and brings the level of toughness coaches love. Ejiofor feels like the type of player who carves out a long NBA career because he understands exactly how to help a team win. And what I also love about him is that he's a great passer for a big man and improved on his three-point shot tremendously this season. So I think he could become the steal of the draft class. And next up is Trevin Brazile from Arkansas, and Trevin Brazile remains one of the most fascinating boom or bust prospects in the draft because of his rare physical tools he brings to the table. He stands at around 6'9" with a reported wingspan of over 7 feet, and Brazile has the size of a power forward but moves with the fluidity and athleticism of a wing. At his best, he looks exactly like the type of modern NBA frontcourt player teams love. He's long, explosive, versatile, and capable of impacting the game on both ends of the floor. He's an elite shot blocker for his position, covers ground quickly, and has the mobility to switch on the smaller players when needed. And offensively, he has shown the ability to stretch the floor, finish above the rim, and attack closeouts, giving teams a glimpse of a highly versatile offensive skill set. If he can stay healthy and put everything together, Brazile has one of the highest ceilings among forwards in the draft and could develop into the type of two-way stretch forward that every NBA team is looking for. And next up is Malik Thomas from Arkansas as well. And he's one of the smoothest and most naturally gifted scorers in the entire draft class. He's around 6'4" with solid length and a fluid build. He combines advanced ball handling with deep range shooting and has an effortless ability to create his own shot. Whether it's pull-up threes, step backs, or tough mid-range looks off the dribble, Thomas has a full offensive package that puts constant pressure on defenses. So if he tightens up his shot selection and becomes more engaged on the defensive end, his scoring talent gives him legitimate star level upside, and in a league that heavily values self-created offense, Thomas already has one of the most translatable offensive skill sets in this class. Then we got Henry Visar from North Carolina. Henry Visar is a modern stretch big who fits perfectly into how NBA offenses are evolving. He stands around 7 feet with a solid frame and soft shooting touch. He brings real spacing value from the center position. His ability to step out beyond the arc and consistently knock down shots forces opposing bigs to leave the paint, which immediately opens up driving lanes for his teammates. He also has good awareness as a passer, and his combination of size, shooting, and feel gives him real rotational value in today's NBA, where floor spacing from the 5 spot is at a premium. And speaking of shooting, we have Ryan Conwell from Louisville, who's one of the most reliable and polished shooters in the draft class, projecting as an immediate floor spacer at the next level, and he stands around 6'3" with solid guard size. He plays with confidence and a clear understanding of how to impact the game without needing high usage. He's dangerous both as a spot-up threat and in movement situations, and consistently punishes defenses that go under screens or collapse into the paint. In a league where shooting is at a premium, Conwell profiles as a type of plug-and-play perimeter threat who can earn rotation minutes early and stick around for a long time because of how well his skill will translate. And next up is Isaiah Nelson from USF, and he's a high motor forward who impacts the game through effort, athleticism, and physicality rather than high usage scoring. He stands around 6'8" with a strong, wiry build and solid length. He plays with non-stop energy on both ends of the floor, and he's at his best when he runs the floor in transition, attacking the glass, and creating second chance opportunities through hustle plays that don't always show up on the box score. And defensively, Nelson brings clear upside because of his mobility and activity level. He can switch onto multiple positions in spurts, competes on offensive boards, and shows a kind of intensity that allows him to stay engaged even without touches. Offensively, his role is still developing, but he finishes well around the rim and thrives in playing within structure rather than forcing isolation offense. If his skill level catches up with his physical tools, he has a real chance to outplay his draft position as a valuable rotation piece. And our next forward is Baba Miller from Cincinnati, and he's one of the most intriguing upside wings in the entire draft class because of his rare combination of size, skill, and versatility. He stands around 6'11" with a long wingspan and fluid athleticism. Miller has a physical profile of a modern NBA forward who can impact the game in multiple ways. He's comfortable handling the ball in transition, making reads off the dribble, and operating as a connector within offense, which gives him much higher skill baseline than most players this size. And what really drives his NBA appeal is the versatility on both ends. Offensively, he can initiate actions in spurts, space the floor, and attack closeouts when given space. Even if his consistency remains a work in progress, he still brings really good defense with his length and mobility, which allow him to switch across multiple positions and disrupt passing lanes. And next up is Alex Carabin from UConn, and he's one of the safest and most plug-and-play role player prospects in the entire draft because of how natural his game fits the winning basketball. He stands around 6'8", solid positional size and a good frame, and he doesn't need the ball to impact the game. He thrives as a floor spacer and connector within an offense. His catch and shoot ability is his biggest weapon, and he consistently punishes defenses that help off of him or go under on screens. The main swing factor for his NBA role is defense, specifically lateral quickness against faster wings, but his IQ, shooting, and team-oriented style give him a very clear path to a long NBA career as a rotational forward on competitive teams. And the next player is Braden Smith from Purdue, and Braden Smith is arguably the best floor general in the draft when it comes to passing, timing, and controlling an offense. Standing only at around 6 foot, he compensates for his size with elite IQ, speed, and advanced understanding of pick-and-roll manipulation. He constantly shifts defenses with his pace, slowing down the freeze help defenders, and hitting shooters or bigs at the exact right moment for clean looks. What makes Smith so valuable is that he's not just a passer, he's an offensive engine. He can run a team, dictate tempo, and consistently generate efficient possessions for teammates at a higher level. But the obvious concern is his size and how it translates defensively against bigger, more athletic NBA guards. But his command of the game is so strong that he raises the offensive floor of any unit he's in. Then we got Bruce Thornton from Ohio State, and he's one of the most steady and efficient guards in his class, built around control rather than flash. He stands at around 6 feet with a strong, compact frame. He plays with excellent balance and rarely speeds himself up. His value comes from his decision making. He consistently gets team into their sets, limits turnovers, and scores within the flow of the offense instead of forcing tough looks. What stands out most is how polished he already is as a scorer and playmaker from Ohio State. He's comfortable operating pick and roll, he can hit mid-range pull-up jumpers when defenses go under, and he understands how to manipulate tempo. While he doesn't project as a high upside star due to athletic limitations, his feel, efficiency, and composure give him a strong chance to stick in the NBA as a long-term rotation guard who stabilizes second units. And we got Jaden Bradley from Arizona, and he brings a defensive identity and toughness that immediately stands out at the guard position. He stands around 6'2" with solid strength and quick feet, and he applies constant ball pressure and makes life uncomfortable for opposing lead guards. And offensively, he's best when attacking downhill and putting pressure on the rim, where his strength helps him finish through contact. And with Arizona, he's also shown growth as a decision maker, playing with more control and improving as a secondary playmaker. And his jump shot at the mid-range level is elite, and he's also developing his shot at the three-point line. But by improving that, along with his defensive versatility and playmaking ability, he could be a solid guard in the NBA. Then we got Tyler Bilodeau from UCLA, and he's a skilled stretch big whose value comes from spacing and offensive intelligence. He stands around 6'9" with solid size for a frontcourt player. He has smooth shooting stroke that extends beyond the arc and forces defenses to respect him on the perimeter. He plays within himself, rarely over dribbles, and makes smart reads as a floor spacer. And he reminds me a lot of Danilo Gallinari. If he could be even 80% of Gallinari, he'll have a long NBA career as a scorer. And the last player I want to talk about is Richie Saunders from BYU. And Richie Saunders is one of the most dangerous movement shooters in the draft class. He thrives in off-ball action and constant relocation. He stands at around 6'5" with solid positional size, and he excels at reading defenses, sliding into open windows, and knocking down shots in rhythm. His shooting mechanics are quick and repeatable, making him a consistent threat whenever he's on the floor. The big question is durability, and he's coming off a significant ACL injury, which raises concerns about his explosiveness and defensive mobility long-term. But if he can return close to his form, his shooting alone gives him real NBA value as a rotation wing who can stretch defenses immediately. But that is every prospect I think you should know coming into the 2026 NBA draft. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and thank you guys for watching, and God bless you all.